Hey everyone, my name is Jason Filer, and I'm thrilled to welcome you to the 8th episode of The Afterglow, the series where I'll be interviewing big names in the barbershop world and trying to uncover the stories behind their music. In this episode, I'm very excited to have on the 2023 Barbershop Harmony Society Rocky Mountain District Quartet Champions and 2024 International Quartet Contest Finalists, Sunday Night Social.
I've seen, oh, that rockin' chair really got me. With my cane right there by my side, chained to my good old rockin', ready for my day of judgment, chained to my...
After just bursting onto the scene this past year, Sunday Night Social has quickly become a favorite among barbershop enthusiasts and casual listeners alike. In this interview, we'll explore their musical journey, dive into their creative process, and hear about the experiences that have shaped their distinctive sound. So, there's no reason to wait any longer. Let's sit back, relax, and be social on a Sunday with some singers for whom every note is a celebration and every performance is a joy. Ashley, Tim, Seth, and Tyler, it's Sunday Night Social. Sunday Night Social, thank you for being here. How are you all?
Good, man. How are you doing?
Awesome. I'm doing very well. I'm very excited for this. So, for those of you who haven't seen this before, I'm just going to talk to this group for a little while and get to know them more on a personal level and on a barbershop level. So we're just going to get right into it with figuring out how they got into barbershop. So how about Tim? We'll start with you. What sort of got you into it from the beginning and to now?
Well, I was in high school, and this is when we had chalkboards and no computers many years ago. And older gentleman in our church choir invited me to come by and visit this local barbershop chorus in Freeport, Illinois, of all places. And I went to visit, and they were horrible. They were just horrible. But it was a good bunch of guys, and they had a great fellowship, and they made me feel a part of them, even though I was 16 years old. And my older brother went with me, and that was in 1983. And then I've been a member ever since, and I've enjoyed the ride tremendously.
Awesome. Thank you. Seth, how about you?
Similar kind of situation. I was in high school. My choir director sang with the Iowa City Old Capitol Chorus and got us to kind of go and see what's going on up there. Sang in a group in high school, and then kind of went away from it for a little while. Went to college, and then got joined back in doing some community theater stuff. Like half of the chorus was singing in the community theater, and so I started hanging out with them in Rochester, Minnesota, and joined the chorus up there.
Awesome. Cool. Ashley, how about you?
I'm kind of the newbie, I guess, as it were. Tyler sucked me in slowly over the years. We sang in an a cappella group together when I first moved to Colorado. I think that started in like 2013, and then we started dating in like 2014 or whatever. And he slowly like was playing me different videos and stuff, and I was like, this is weird. I like a cappella. But he gradually dragged me in. So I started in 2018 in Velvet Hills Chorus with Darren Drown, and just been doing some quartet stuff since then, some chorus stuff, Timberliners with Tyler, and so rest is history.
Awesome. And before we get to Tyler, I just wanted to quickly ask, because you had mentioned in your final set you had done collegiate a cappella. May I ask what group you were in case anyone's wondering?
Nobody big. It was at UNC Asheville in North Carolina, and the group is called the Bluebirds.
Awesome.
Yeah, but I directed it for a couple of years, did a lot of arranging for it, so yeah. Big dork in that field, but now I'm a huge dork in barbershop, so
Yeah. Cool. I'm the same way, so that's super cool to hear. Tyler,
hey,
how about
nice.
you?
Yeah, similar story to Seth and Tim. My high school teacher kind of forced me to go to an a cappella camp. And, at that point they were handing out the CDs and stuff. And it was old school tracks of a bunch of polecats and such. And that was actually a thing hosted by Darren Drown. And that kind of kick-started everything. So I started that back in 2007. But yeah, pretty quick after that, basically like dived in wholeheartedly and joined, originally my high school quartet, we joined the Mountaineers, which were a local smaller chapter here in the Denver metro area. And then that kind of swiftly pivoted to Sound of the Rockies, and the four of us competed with them in Nashville in 2008, and that kind of, started my journey there. So
Awesome. Cool. Thank you. So now I'll just go around one more time, just ask a little bit of a more specific question that I've been wondering, I know people have talked about. So, Tim, this is not your first quartet, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm just sort of wondering, what has been the main difference for you from singing with other groups to this one? Maybe it's in terms of like style, performance, overall goals. Like, what has been the biggest difference for you?
Well, not to state the obvious, but the biggest difference with this one and the others is that we actually have a female in the quartet. So that's kind of a big deal, but it's been really, really awesome, because Ashley's an amazing singer and she brings so much to this quartet. So beyond that, for me, this is, I've been in a number of quartets, and as I'm aging, I'd like to think I'm not becoming a grumpy old man. I'm becoming a more laid back old man, and I'm just more comfortable. And I'm really, when we started this group, we were very focused on making it social, and ultimately that ended up in our name. But we wanted to be very friendly and involves our family. So we have family type events on a very regular basis. Every 4 to 6 weeks, we all get together so we can get to know each other and have a good time outside of singing. And it's just it's been a great ride, much more relaxed, much more laid back. And a lot of that is just me and my approach that I've found as I've matured. I had a few years between the last quartet and this one. Give me a lot of time to kind of reflect and contemplate on how I wanted to be me personally in my next ensemble. And so far it's worked out great.
Awesome. I love that. So I just want to ask about the the family events and stuff, because you mentioned that on a live stream too. So that seems like a pretty unique thing. I feel like a lot of quartets don't really talk about that. So like, what kind of events, do you guys like to put together? Just sort of just hanging out, or anything specific, or
Well,
what
one of the
brings you all
things
together?
that's kind of interesting is, like in previous quartets where, with Ashley singing with 3 other women, or with Seth and Tyler singing together with 2 other guys, a family event would normally involve at least 8 people plus children. And here we only have 6 plus children, since the 2 of them are married. So that makes it a little easier. And my wife and I, our kids are grown. One of our adult children lives here in the Denver area, so he'll join us. And then Seth, I'll let him speak about his family. But it's we have a brunch. We'll meet together for a dinner at a restaurant. We'll go. What other kind of fun things
go to
have we done?
concerts and stuff.
Yeah,
We
went to
do
concerts.
concerts. We also hold the sort of a quarterly like Sunday night social where we invite quartets from across the Front Range to come and sing and socialize. And the opportunity. It's meant to be an opportunity to allow folks who are interested in quartetting to see other quartets perform and maybe do a little networking. But primarily, it's meant to kind of bring our friends together and let everybody get to know each other a little better and have a good time. So it's usually a family-friendly event, and we try to hold it earlier in the day. And most of our families come for all of those. So yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Thank you. That's really cool to hear about. Okay, so Seth, I wanted to ask, you've done a little bit of research, and it seems like you've sung lead and tenor before in some other past quartets. So, and you even made a little bit of a mention in the loser song you guys did that you've been demoted to the baritone slot. How has that been different for you, competing not only just on this newer spot, but like on such a high level of a quartet?
Yeah, it was a journey. It was a long journey actually. So it's going from the even tempered lead spot to the very natural intonation baritone spot has been difficult, to say it easily. What I had to do was, at the beginning I couldn't even hear that I was doing it wrong, because you just get so ingrained in that even tempered style, close to what the piano's doing. And I don't have perfect pitch or anything like that, so I don't know how that works. I literally had to train myself over the last year how to do that natural intonation stuff. So we would record all of our rehearsals, and I would listen to them afterwards, and I'd be like, oh, that's flat. Oh, that's sharp. Oh, that's flat. and I just fix it, fix it, fix it. Those fives need to be higher, those sevens and threes need to be lower, and just keep working on it until finally, about 6 or 7 months in, I could finally hear it live, and I'd be like, okay, this is what I need to do, and I could fix it live. So
Can you
it
also
took a
talk
while.
about the even temper as far as like an actual temperament as opposed to pitch accuracy? Because you were, as opposed to distemper, you were now even temper, distemper.
Yes, that's also true. Yep, I would get a little less angry about it.
There was a long journey too, and I feel like it still happens in every coaching session, like where someone would say one thing to Seth and then someone else would say the opposite, and like just in terms of just timbre, or just like how to produce or whatever. And so finding that slot, I know, was a thing for you where you're just like, okay. And I feel like it ended up coming to just your natural bright, space. Like that was the best space to sing in.
Yeah, it was a journey in terms of production as well. Yeah.
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 So
Not to disparage any of the advice that Seth has gotten over the year.
It was
right?
great, yeah.
Because there are so many paths to success when it comes to singing any part, and I think that people usually bring to bear the experience they've gathered, things that they've found that are successful when they're doing their coaching and stuff. But as you talk to, I'm sure as you've noticed, as you talk to folks who've been singing for a while and start pushing for that mid upper A level, you kind of you have to pare down your coaching. You have to pare down those coaches and just start just pick a path, and that's what we're gonna do. I don't care what you said. I'll listen to you nicely, but that's what we're gonna do. So that's it's been cool seeing Seth blossom and thrive as a baritone.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Thank you. So now I'll go to Ashley. How has the experience of singing this quartet, how have you had to change any sort of style of singing from swinging with your Sweet Alliance quartet?
It's actually been an interesting journey, and I feel like I swerved all the way to one side, now kind of coming back to the middle. But so I sing in a Sweet Adeline's quartet where Siobhan Drown is the lead, and Siobhan is like very bright, very pingy, and so I kind of had when I sing with them, I have to like kind of, I wouldn't say squeeze, but I have to really send in a really pingy way. And with Tim, I find that I'm able to be a little bit more resonant and a little bit more full and just kind of natural. And I think I went a little too far in that direction where it's like, being like a little too big. And I got some recent feedback that was like, you can still be, you don't have to make it bigger. You can still be forward and resonant, do both of those things. So I'm kind of coming back to the middle, but, Tyler and I have a very natural match just from many years singing together. And then, Seth and I, when we like focus on each other, it's like, it's really good. And, I feel like we slot really well. And so it's just been kind of figuring out how to resonate well to sound good in this quartet. And it turns out I can just kind of do my thing.
Word of the day, orotund. You can look it up. Orotund. It's a big round sound is one of
Did you Google that right before you said it, Tim?
I just read something about it earlier this morning.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I was a little too orotund in the beginning, but now.
There you go. That's nice.
That's a $5 word. There we go.
Yeah.
Yep. You've started something now. Cool. So, last thing before we go on to more group stuff, Tyler. So you're no stranger to singing bass with a lot of RMD groups, over the past few years. So I'm wondering, how has that experience of singing with so many different other groups prepared you for a group like this, which has gone on to go and make the 10 on their first try? Like, how has that jump been made for you?
Well, I think that Seth and I probably share this experience. We've been in 2 other quartets together, and I think that sort of that journey into the just right into the A category, that 81, 82 space is something that we're both kind of familiar with at this point. We kind of know the work that needs to be done. And so talking through all of that has been it's cool because we've been bringing Ash along that journey, and she's been kind of experiencing some of that too. We sang in a few quartets together, and we got some really high B scores, nothing quite in the A category, but you know, it's been cool to kind of bring her along with that journey. But I think in this, so bringing all that to this quartet was really helpful, and I think that kind of expedited our process as a trio singing with Tim. Like Tim mentioned, he's kind of let us, for better or for worse, like he kind of lets us do more of the work and you know, more of the driving. So it's been a great learning experience for the three of us. And you know, Tim still brings a lot artistically all the time, but I think he's kind of letting us make mistakes and try things and learn. And so I think that bringing that experience that Seth and I have had really helped. And then it kind of opened some doors, you know, because Tim obviously has a lot of experience singing in mid and high A level quartets. And so that sort of launched us into a whole new learning process, which has been, you know, intense.
Yeah, and if I can like add on to that, just from my perspective of you, like I think it's kind of just like exciting because Tyler's now in this, like, you know, a very A-level scenario where he hears a lot and he just has to open his mouth and it's freaking perfect all the time. So that's amazing for you. But he hears a lot and I feel like you feel safe to tell everyone to give, you know, good feedback and we can all, you know, so there's like a kind of open internal culture too where you can say what you hear and we'll receive it and implement it. And
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true, but
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think that what's interesting about, and this is maybe something that we'll talk about more later, but you know, this is the first quartet I feel like I've ever been in where there's complete alignment internally with our, you know, our desires, you know, our goals and work ethic. You know, it's just I've never personally experienced that in a quartet. And I think that, you know, all the things that we did before certainly contributed to that success in this current group, but that's a really unique thing for me personally when it comes to this quartet, is that it just feels like there's never any fight on any of the things that we want to do. And sure, like there's might be disagreement in like choices and stuff like that, but ultimately we're all aiming towards the same target and we all really care a lot about where we're going. So it's kind of cool.
Cool. Awesome. So, the next thing I'll ask is and we will talk about that very soon, but how did you all come from these individual little clumps, some of you have sung together every once in a while, to forming this group? Like what was the impetus for this group? And then going forward, what sort of brought you together and what was your main goal there? Anyone who wants to jump in on that?
Yeah, well, I guess I can talk a little bit about it, but you know, as we've mentioned, Seth and I have sung in several quartets together now, 2.5, Seth? I don't know if we'll fully count Sundogs. That was like
a few weeks.
A one and done kind of situation. But you know, so we have a really established sound together.
How many years
sorry?
would you say? How many years together?
Probably 6, 7 years. And of course we sung together in SOR and, you know, so there's a lot of similar opinion and mind when it comes to like how we like to approach music. And Tim and I, you know, Tim, you moved to Denver in 2020, right?
Yeah, 19.
Yeah. So as the pandemic kind of started to open up and rehearsals were a thing again, Tim and Karen and his wife, they started coming and singing at Timberliner's rehearsal back when I was directing the mixed chorus. And so we kind of got introduced to each other there. And, you know, obviously I've always been a huge fan of Tim. And that kind of slowly blossomed into us hanging out outside of rehearsals, talking about things. And it kind of we kind of slowly, sort of came to this idea of maybe we should try starting a thing. And Seth immediately came to mind. And you know, I thought it would actually take some convincing to get Seth to sing baritone, just because I know he's such a fantastic lead and brings so much to that space. But I mean, I'll let you speak to that, Seth. But it seemed like he was ready to go, ready to give it a try.
Yeah, and it plays to a lot of strengths that I have, right? Like I like digging into that music kind of stuff, and like I said, it was a journey, but it was a lot of fun. So yeah, I was up for it. I was up for the try.
Yeah, and initially we intended to be a TTBB quartet, primarily because Ash and I had sung in two mixed quartets together already, and we found it's really challenging to be parents in the same quartet together because, typically there's this opportunity to hand off your kid to somebody else when the
The other-
contest shows all the things happen, but because we sing in a group together, every single time we're on stage, someone else has to be with our kid, so when we first started talking about the quartet, we thought we'd find someone else because of that reason, literally. But as we sort of started thinking about things and thinking about singers in the area, it was really important to the three of us that we had somebody local, and Ash just kind of kept coming to the top of the list. And so eventually we got together for a rehearsal and started singing through some material, and that was late last August. I think our year anniversary is in 5 days, so we're almost a year old.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's if I
Awesome.
can also add to that, I think
For sure.
I've sung in local quartets and I've sung in quartets with one or more people from outside, long distance quartets. And a local quartet, in my experience, is just better because you can get together more easily. It's easier to have social interactions. The long distance quartet, you like pick a weekend, people fly to a neutral site or to somebody's town and they get together and they have a nice social time while they're there, but those are spread out, and months apart sometimes. And your communication are via Zoom, which you can't really rehearse, or via text and email, etc. Or we can just get together on a whim. We're pretty close within 30 minutes, all of us, 40 minutes. So we can get together and have a lunch. We can get together and have an early dinner. We can, in the month of June, we could talk about how much we rehearsed. We rehearsed twice a week for the first 3 weeks of June. And then the last week we rehearsed every night. So that's an advantage that we had over other quartets that are maybe didn't get together since May and they met in Cleveland. And so want to play to that strength, but it's more enjoyable experience overall because we can be closer physically
Yeah.
as well as, mentally, emotionally.
For sure. So you mentioned the rehearsal. So I'm wondering, as you got closer, what was that rehearsal process like for you guys? Because I mean, I can imagine that maybe from different groups you might have had different methods for rehearsals. So when coming together from all those different experiences, what was sort of your main goal in each of these rehearsals? If anyone has any
A lot of it
opinions
was
on that.
learning music because we had several
Yeah.
new songs that we were teeing up. Two new songs in the month of June.
Wow.
So that was fun. And but it was we tried to stay high level. And then we did coaching. Darren Drown was a big help. Jim Clark was a big help. Our good friend Christian Diaz was a big help locally here. And we had when was our retreat with Dave McEachern?
May?
That was
Was it
in
May?
May. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that kind of kicked things
my
off.
appendicitis weekend, that was our
Yeah.
last.
Tyler had to ruin it.
When Dave McEachern exploded Tyler's appendix.
Classic.
But
Everybody, right?
but then as we get closer that last week, then we kind of get away from minutia and just worry more about performance level elements, high level things. We didn't rehearse as long. We tried to zoom out, right, as we got closer and closer to the performance time so that we could be, and we actually did performances for several groups. We had at least one show in there or two shows in there, which were great opportunities to learn from those. And instead of standing in a circle and trying to work on intricacies of tuning on phrase by phrase, we're like, let's work on an entire performance and then do it again and that type of thing.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Now, just before we start talking about individual songs in the contest, Tyler, you had mentioned like overall desires or goals and like reaching a target. So what does that look like for you guys? Maybe like, and has that changed at all over the past year?
Well, I mean, I would say that our first goal, first and foremost, was to, have a great time together, because we've all been in quartets that, the competition stuff came first. And that's not to say we're not competitive, because we obviously are, right? Like, we really enjoy the competition cycle and being a part of that process. And, really, there's no place better than, the international stage and district contests to get feedback from your peers and like get better at this style. So that's all awesome. But I think our first goal when we got together was that we wanted to make really great music together and like have a super good time doing it. As far as our contest stuff goes, I think our only goal is only ever just to be better than our last time, and we didn't come to international with any real solid expectations. I mean, we prepared 3 sets, and shot our best shot, and obviously we were lucky enough to get to sing 3 times. But what our goals for international was just to introduce ourselves to the international barbershop audience, and we were hoping for 2 times, and we got that, and obviously the super excited to get to sing 3. So I think going forward we're just looking to, and I'll let everybody else speak to that too, but for me it's just about solidifying where we are as a quartet, and continuing to grow our artistic skills as an ensemble. I don't know, Seth, Ash, Tim, if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, I think it takes a while. A lot of quartets, there's an old adage in business consulting about teams and how they start out there storming, forming, norming, and then performing. And most groups never get out of stage 2, right? Storming and forming. And a lot of quartets, it's not maybe the best analogy, but they really struggle to find an identity that isn't just about their music. And ultimately, your music helps you find your identity. We tried this didn't work. We tried this worked, right? So let's do more of that. But ultimately, you want to have an identity and a brand, and then you find music that fits that. And it takes a while. Some groups come together very quickly. Some take a while to develop. Sometimes it's a song that helps that quartet, puts them on the map, and it becomes their identity. Others never get it. And so that's why you see this cycle in international, especially if quartets get together, 1 or 2, maybe 3 contests. And if they don't move up, they're out, right? And when you get to the higher levels at Barbershop International, it's really about how recognizable you are, how much the audience wants to see you, and how much they enjoy you because of who you are. Your music is part of that, but it's not the only part of it.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. That all really speaks very well to those kinds of desires and goals you're mentioning. So last thing before the music, I'm wondering, as a first time group, going in for the first year competing, what was the experience for you guys like in terms of the differences between competing at your first district and then your first international? Because, you had both 2 very big firsts this year. And was there any sort of main difference you can think of that you guys felt, or maybe even while you're performing, or just in terms of the environment?
Well, time was nice, because I think for the RMD prelims, we maybe rehearsed like 6 weeks.
Barely.
Yeah. So
Putting the wheels on for the district contest was the goal. Just getting through the songs and making sure.
Yeah, just learn enough songs, do them right. Like it was, we all got sick beforehand. Like,
COVID, Ash.
Yeah.
Me,
there was like weeks
Seth.
where we couldn't even rehearse leading right up to it. So, we were getting to know each other and kind of finding, who we were as a quartet. And it was joyous and it was fun, but it was very, very fresh. And then, so for international, we finally had like 10, 11 months under our belt, and, we were finding our sound and stuff. And so it was joyful. I don't know, both times, but at least we had a little bit more of an established sound by international.
Yeah, I think there's also this like, how barbershop is. It's like a big rumor mill, right? We've got a really insular hobby, and everybody's always talking about like the new groups that are upcoming, and there's always like a little expectation around a group that you might consider somebody that's going to come out and have some impact. So I know for me personally, there was definitely, I felt a lot of pressure at both our first district together and at international, just kind of like wanting to introduce ourselves and, you know, give a representative performance. It's ironic that like the top 10 performance that we had, was the least nervous I've ever been on stage for a contest set like ever in my life, which is felt like it should have been the opposite, but somehow it felt like, oh, okay, we did the thing. We don't have to qualify for another round. Like this is it. And
Relax.
yeah, felt pretty good. I don't know. What did you think about that, Seth?
Yeah, I agree. My similar, my thoughts around the international competition were more just saying hi, you know, introducing the quartet. Hey, we're a group that's gonna be here and throw a party on stage and have a good time. And sounds like we were rewarded for that. You know, we got to sing 3 times, and the third time that we sang, I was also quite relaxed, just, you know, having a good time on stage and getting that opportunity was just a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And Tim, what do you think about, like, you know, having been the first time with this group, but did you feel any sort of pressure being like, I'm coming off of multiple other groups in the past, being like, I have to perform really high? Like, what was that like for you?
Yeah, we become our own worst enemies, and we have to find ways to just kind of tamp that down and just try to focus on the present, not on the past or the future. Just try to live in the moment, and just like I said, enjoy the ride. And the fall contest in where were we?
Utah.
Ogden, Utah. In Ogden, Utah was just trying to stay relaxed and just try to get a sense of how we are together. Like we said, we were still working on new music, and by the time we got to international, we definitely were much more comfortable. I think that's pretty obvious when I watch the videos of the two. We just seem so much more relaxed and so more confident, much more confident together as an ensemble. And that's part of our journey that we'll continue hopefully to develop.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. So I want to ask about some of your arrangements, some of your performances. So you came out in the quarterfinals and made a big splash with Rockin' Chair, which they uploaded to the you know, the YouTube channel, which was so cool. You know, a highlight for a lot of people of that session. I'm just wondering, where did that come from in terms of like being like, we gotta do this song, we gotta do this arrangement of this song, and it's like, where did that come from start to finish? Because it's such a wonderful performance.
Yeah, I'll take that one. Aaron Dale is the arranger of that, and Aaron and I are friends for many, many years. He did arrangements for my quartets in the past, and it's been fun to watch him become so popular. And now I can't get his time right because he's so popular. But when we first started, he was knocking them out for us pretty quickly, and he does great stuff. And he had actually arranged that song for an international champ quartet that they only sang it one time, Masterpiece, and they sang it on an AIC show, and it just didn't really fit for them. So I knew it was out there, but nobody else had picked it up. So it was available. Talked to him about it. He said, "Sure, I'd love for you guys to sing it," and sent it to this quartet, and everybody loved it. And it's hard. It's a hard song, but everybody just dove right in and worked it out. It was one of the first songs really that we learned. And again, I think the transition over the last year of how that song is, or 9 months of how that song has progressed is really, really fun to watch.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, that was probably my favorite song you guys did. It was super fun to watch. So now this other song that you guys had, the losers song in the finals, was, you know, when I was watching that, I was, you know, we'd had a bunch of comedy all throughout the finals. It was a very strange night for a lot of different reasons, and that was super interesting for all of us. And then when I got to you guys, I was like, well, I don't really know what to expect anymore. They can do comedy too, and lo and behold, we have this parody song, I believe arranged by the illustrious Clay Hine. So I'm wondering, what did that start like? Like, whose idea was it to be like, we gotta bring something out that's funny. We gotta make him laugh in the finals. Like, where did that come from?
Yeah, so
Tyler.
yeah, so I've been watching the show Has Been Hotel, which is it's an Amazon Prime original, very adult oriented show. this is just as a disclaimer for folks who might look it up that haven't seen it. But the original song, it's sort of this really interesting story between these two characters about how, one of them singing to the other one being like, man, you think all these terrible things about yourself, and let me just say you're correct. And I just really loved that sort of quick switch that happened in the song. And, it shops like crazy. It circles like crazy. And so I remember the first day that I saw it on the show, I immediately sent it to Tim, and I was like, hey, I think it'd be a really cool idea if we did this song where, it starts out and you're making fun of us because we're all the quote unquote newbies. Everybody knows your face. But then we flip the script a little bit somehow and kind of like try to make it a fun play on things. And so Tim had a bunch of fun ideas with that too, and he actually did all of the original lyrics for the parody. And then, we did a lot of wiggling around after that with Darren and Jim helped a lot with that too. But like Tim said, we didn't actually get the chart until like June 11th or so, the first rendition of it. And then I actually rewrote the bridge. Well, I added a bridge. There wasn't a bridge before. I added a bridge and rewrote the ending. So I put a bunch of new stuff in. So we were kind of spinning that thing together. Literally, finals night was happening and people were singing on stage. We were watching and trying to add in jokes based on like a great example was the Newfangled Four Guys, how Jake Tickner had his fingers connected together. So we tried to make a joke about that too, but it's like bubble gum and duct tape, basically. All
dreams.
that song together, but yeah. That was, awesome. But that was basically where the idea came from. So
yeah, but we knew that like the three of us were less known. Like Tyler and Seth have been in the 20 a couple times, and Windfall made Dealer's Choice or whatever, but that like otherwise we're not like, we maybe look familiar to people, and I mean I guess people know you more because you're a judge and stuff, but so it's kind of like Tim is known, we're not, like let's introduce us and and then poke a little bit at like,
but also say like this is not like one of the this is a new idea, this is something new, this is a new brand, an opportunity for Tim to be vulnerable in a different way too. Which is it felt like a good way to kind of approach that. So,
and if I may also, it was a great opportunity, and it really was great to hear Tyler suggest it. He said we've never done comedy. He and Seth singing together had never done any comedy, and he thought it would be good opportunity. We work with Dave McEachern, and he's always imploring us to get comfortable being uncomfortable and find ways to test yourself and be vulnerable, et cetera, et cetera. And so what better way than to try something you've never done before? And I said, yeah, let's do it. And so it was a great experience. And we uncovered some comedic skills, I think, in all of us that we didn't maybe realize we had. And it was a fun journey. And so that's comedy in the future, I think, is on the table, at least not to a level of, Newfangled Four maybe, but certainly there's some other paths to still be entertaining and slightly funny.
Yeah, awesome. So then I'll
slightly
ask.
Funny. That's the goal.
Slightly.
Seth, as someone who you haven't, as Tim mentioned, hasn't really been part of like the comedy world, did you feel any sort of pressure going into the finals night, hearing all the other groups doing comedy? Was it like, oh, we're doing comedy and so is everyone else? Like, what did that feel like going into that?
No. So I first and foremost don't really compare myself to other quartets when we're going on the competition stage. I just want to put, the quartet's best foot forward. Let's focus on what we can do and then enjoy watching other quartets and maybe get some ideas from them, but really not comparing ourselves to them, because we're putting our foot forward for the judges, right? That's kind of how I think about it. And going on and doing something silly on stage in front of 1,000 people is not, or for the finals is several thousand people, is not really it's something that would make me anxious or anything like that. And I don't really get the vibe that the four of us were worried about falling on our faces or anything like that. We're just going to go out and have a good time. we're gonna, you know, I said this before, just kind of have a party on stage and have a good time and entertain the audience a little bit. So
Yeah.
that I think that came through.
Yeah. Wonderful. Okay. So now going a little bit away from that kind of thing, just out of curiosity, are there any funny stories, interesting stories you have over the past year that you think would be fun to share with the audience? Just anything at all you can think of that you might think, oh, people might like to know that this kind of thing happened.
Nothing interesting about this quartet. Very milquetoast.
Nothing.
No, there are some things that I'm gonna say this. There are some things that we're really excited to share that we actually can't share, and hopefully here in the next couple of months there'll be something really cool that we'll get to share with the general public. But for now, we have to keep our lips sealed about it. But just to say that there's at least one thing that we're really excited to be able to talk about, and here in the next month or two, we should be able to do that, and plenty of great stories to share with that. So
I can something I thought was kind of funny as part of that journey. We went to Las Vegas for a very quick trip for a special thing that we were doing, and it was funny. We went out to dinner and we had to do some work the next morning, and so we came back to the hotel casino, and Tyler was so excited because he wanted to go gamble because he'd never gone gambling. He wanted to go play blackjack, and so Seth went to bed. And Ashley stayed up with us, and Tyler and I each cashed, $100. And when you go to a ATM in Vegas, you get like $85 or something like that because of all the fees. And so we went to a blackjack table and it was like $15 a hand. And so I played like 5 hands. I won 1, I lost 4, and I quit. I'm like, I'm out. And Tyler he had done about the same, but he kept on and he won all his money back. So he ended up at a net zero for the day. So he felt pretty good. So he had this $100 poker chip in his pocket that he kept falling out of his pocket every time he'd sit down, and you have to try to pick up your $100 chip. And I had my $5 chips, right? So late that afternoon, the next day, we were getting ready to fly back. And Tyler had a little bit of extra time, so he wanted to go gamble some more. So he went running back to the blackjack table, and we finished up our meal and paid our tab. And as we're walking to go out to get in a taxi to the airport, he comes running up and he's all excited because he had doubled his money. So he had gone from $100 and he went home with $200, and he was very excited. And he looked like a little kid that had just found a jar of candy when he was 5 years old. It was the funniest thing.
Awesome.
Meanwhile, I still have my $25 that
yeah. It's a good thing I don't live in Vegas. I would be in trouble.
That's funny. Thank you for sharing that. And whatever it is that you were hinting at, I'm sure we'll all be very excited to hear about it at some point. So
we hope so.
We
hope so.
I hope so too. But I'm sure we will be. Just a few just little rapid fire, just barbershop questions. I want to go through each of you and just ask like 2 or 3 questions. I'll start with Ashley. What's your favorite barbershop tag?
Oh, God. I'm the worst at tags. I like the one from Phantom. All I ask of you. That one's really, really nice. Yeah.
Cool. Now, what's your favorite convention you've been to of any barbershop kind of thing? Any BHS, Street Outlines, any convention?
It's gotta be this last one. That was pretty freaking cool making the 10. So this is, and it was just a great convention. Like everything was so close. Like it was so much fun. We were, it just felt, it's just a joyful time. It was awesome.
Cool. Last question. What's your least favorite ice cream flavor?
Least favorite? I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know.
Babe, don't you know? These are supposed to be rapid fire. I'm like, let me take my time answering. Let's go with
salmon.
Salmon. Yeah, anything fishy is a no-go for me. I don't like the sour ones as much.
Mayonnaise ice cream.
These are real.
Oh, real ice cream. Never mind. I'm sorry.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, Tyler, what about you? What's your favorite tag?
Probably Alone with the Crowd. It's one of my favorites.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay,
nice.
cool. What's your favorite barbershop convention you've been to?
I mean, I would say that 2019 Harmony University was probably my favorite convention so far. I mean, Cleveland was obviously awesome, but I think every waking moment of my day in Cleveland was occupied with whether it was work or chorus or quartet or, so I just, it was a blast, but it was such a busy go time. But 2019 Harmony U was my first Harmony University in Nashville, and I was there for the Directors College, and it was just so much fun. I'll never forget it.
Awesome. And last question, how many meals do you normally eat in a day?
5.
5. Awesome. Good to know.
This is like Family Feud.
Yeah. All right. Seth, what's your favorite tag?
I'll have to go with Brahms Lullaby.
Tasty.
Nice. And what's your favorite convention you've been to? Well, so you can't say one that's already been said.
I really enjoyed the Nashville convention in 2016. Stayed in an Airbnb with 3 other guys, and we had a great time just kind of walking around and having a good time. So I think that was my favorite.
Awesome. And what's your favorite color?
Oh God, my kids ask me this and it changes like every day. I would say right now it is a kind of a deep blue green, somewhere in there.
Nice.
Cerulean.
That's thoughtful. All right. And last but not least, Tim, what's your favorite tag?
Where is Love by the Suntones, Gene Cocroft.
Yes, of course. And what's your favorite convention you've been to?
I would say, since I can't say Cleveland, I would say Nashville 2008. That was when State Line Grocery, in a very crowded field, we had Crossroads and Joe Connolly's last champ quartet in the mix. We were third, and we moved up from fourth year before to third. And much to Darren and Jim's chagrin, they dropped out of the 5. They had beat us the year before. They were third and we were fourth. And then we came to Nashville and moved up to third, and they dropped to 6. Now they came back and beat us, so they get the last laugh. But I like to have that one thing over them.
Yeah, awesome. And last question, what's your second favorite movie?
Okay, good. You didn't make me say my first favorite movie because it's not politically correct. Probably my second favorite movie, Hunt for Red October.
Cool. All right. Thank you for those answers. And we're just about to wrap up here, but is there anything else that you guys want people to know? Anyone who's watching? Anything else you want to say toward the end of this to anyone who's watching?
I had a really fun fact yesterday that I said that I think everybody should know, but I can't remember what it was. So
I think that everybody that aspires to be in a quartet and wants to compete, to make sure you keep everything in perspective and make sure you enjoy the whole process, not just one thing, because that's a very short-sighted goal of like, well, we want to go and win, or we want to win the district, or we want to get in the top 10 or whatever. Okay, we got that. Now what? So try to play the long game and be in it for the long run.
Yeah. And then just to add on to that, one of the things that I think that Tim brought, it was just like a little phrase that he brought to the quartet from the very beginning that I feel like has been instrumental to us, succeeding the way we have is, no matter where you are, what you're doing with a group, bring respect for the entity and recognize that the entity that you are participating in is greater than yourself. And so your contributions to that entity reflect like your respect for it. And it makes a huge difference when everybody's mindset lives inside of that, philosophy, because, we're living proof of that, right? 12 months of that, and the progress that was made is remarkable. And so when everybody's in complete alignment that way, you can move mountains.
Yeah, I think that was maybe a fundamental thing for us as a quartet, where like it was the that respect for the entity, and just complete openness. It's a vulnerable thing singing with each other and finding your sound. And every single one of us has been like the kind of like the one who's working on something to make it sound better. Like a lot of Tyler's like sharp, 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 and I was hungry for that. I wanted that. It's a good thing. And so I think being willing to fail, being hungry for mistakes so that you can be a little bit better and be a little bit better and hold the quartet high and hold each other in respect is, I don't know, that's the best advice I think I could give to anyone.
Awesome. Incredible advice. Thank you so much. I'm sure everyone appreciates that. So,
You didn't ask for advice, but we're giving it anyway.
that's even better. That's the kind of thing people love to hear, that kind of thing. So yeah, my age demographic tends to be very young people, so they probably have not competed yet. So that's cool for people to hear. So thank everyone for being here. This has been a total joy. And if you're watching this and you haven't heard this group perform yet, somehow, there will be a ton of links in the description, and also links to places where you can book them, where you can contact them, get them for shows because they're incredible and they want to sing on your show. So let them know. And this has been totally a blast for me. Thank you all for being here. Thank everyone for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day. I'll see you later.
Thanks, Jason.
Thanks, Jason.
Thanks, Jason.
Everybody.